Prepare yourselves for a somewhat different take on Alastair Reynolds' wider Revelation Space series, since we have now to elucidate in which order to read the novels, and we have to crown the champion among the 10 entries. As a general rule, there will be spoilers, albeit hopefully only minor ones, ahead for any of the novels of the Inhibitor sequence and the Prefect Dreyfus Emergency, both of which constitute the wider Revelation Space narrative universe. So take this into consideration before proceeding with this video. You have been warned. Let us begin with the quote-unquote classic reading order of the series that is also mirrored in the numbering scheme that is used by Goodreads.com and that I have been using throughout the individual review videos. This is not the worst reading order one could imagine, however it suffers from one crucial flaw. The progression of the world building and overall storyline from the Prefect Dreyfus Emergency novels through the Inhibitor sequence can come off as one of constant decline and might leave you with a negative, possibly even depressive and gloomy note at the very end. This has been mitigated a bit by the inclusion of Inhibitor phase in recent years. However, in this particular novel, more on an abstract level, since there are also a lot of examples of a society in decay there as well. Now, another option one might consider is to read the novels in their order of publication. Obviously, it all begins with Revelation Space, setting the stage for the richly detailed future filled with mystery and intrigue. A year later, Chasm City deepened the world building, delving into the dark heart of a dystopian urban landscape. In the same year, Reynolds gave us Diamond Dogs Turquoise Days, a pair of novellas exploring standalone, yet compelling facets of the universe on other planets. The saga then charged ahead with Redemption Arc, followed by Absolution Gap, a dramatic crescendo in the series' overarching narrative. The journey then continued with Galactic North, a collection of stories that expanded on the vast timeline of the universe and which constituted the quote-unquote end of the series for a substantial amount of time. A year later, in 2007 actually, The Prefect was published, which started what is now known as the Prefect Dreyfus Emergency. Also, this particular novel has been rebranded as Aurora Rising. This particular storyline picked up again much later with Elysium Fire in the year 2018. Fast forwarding even more, Inhibitor Phase was published in 2021 and revisits the chilling threat of the Inhibitors, tying back into the main saga with new intensity and offering a more compelling quote-unquote end to the main series than whatever Galactic North was able to deliver. Finally, the Prefect Dreyfus Emergency culminates with Machine Vendetta, which was published very recently in 2024. Hopefully, just reading out the order of the novels will have convinced you that going purely by publication date is not the best option. Mainly the breaks between narratives and jumping between Inhibitor sequence and Prefect Dreyfus Emergency is ill-advised in my opinion. Therefore, this personal suggestion that I will present for the reading order will hopefully ensure an engaging journey through this sprawling narrative. For a beginning, Chasm City is a fantastic choice. It immerses into some of the most relevant settings and gives you an idea of Reynolds' writing style and the overall atmosphere of Revelation Space. Furthermore, Chasm City can be read as a standalone novel, thus being a good appetizer for the entire series. But more importantly, this fact alone makes it a perfect gauge for whether you will enjoy this series of books or not. It also has, in my view, more compelling characters than the next novel that I would suggest, that being Revelation Space, the eponym of the entire series. Then we follow mostly the order of the inhibitor sequence with Diamond Dogs, Turquoise Days, Redemption Arc and Absolution Gap. I would suggest to jump ahead and read Inhibitor Phase before delving into Galactic North, mainly because there are several plotlines in Galactic North that extend beyond the timeline of Inhibitor Phase, and because it makes more sense to read the main novels of the Inhibitor sequence back to back, at least if you ask yours truly. Also, Galactic North can then function as a sort of epilogue to this particular sub-series. Finally, it is time to dive into the Dreyfus Emergency arc, with The Prefect / Aurora Rising, continuing later with Elysium Fire and followed by Machine Vendetta. The reasoning here is that the overall style in writing, characters and setting between the two sub-series is quite different. In addition, the stories in the Dreyfus Emergency are quite interconnected, and it is also reasonable to read them back to back. Ending your journey through the Revelation Space universe with these particular novels leaves you on a more uplifting note as well. By finishing with the Dreyfus Emergency, you are able to experience Chasm City and the Glitter Band during their Belle Epoque. You get to savor their grandeur and vibrancy of this world at its height. This approach spares you from concluding your adventure amidst the grim aftermath of the melding plague and the devastation of the inhibitor attacks, providing a more balanced and satisfying farewell to this richly imagined narrative. Now, if I were to rank the novels of Alastair Reynolds' Revelation Space universe in order of subjective personal preference, the list would look something like this. At number 10 we have Galactic North, in itself an interesting collection of stories that expands the universe's lore, but as mentioned above, its awkward placement within the series as inappropriate quasi-ending until Inhibitor Phase was published probably biased me against it a bit. Similarly, Diamond Dogs, Turquoise Days on spot number 9 are two compelling novellas that are great in their own right but feel more like supplemental pieces. Inhibitor Phase lands at number 8, offering a gripping return to the saga in a full-length book, but I have to admit that the story and characters were captivating, yet still left me a bit low-spirited due to its gloomy portrayal of once grand settings, particularly Chasm City. Maybe I am just too much of a softie. Next at number 7 is Elysium Fire, a strong continuation of the Dreyfus Emergency arc that adds depth to its characters and setting, but also is something of the middle child of the series. It is there, but often overlooked as it does not stand out, neither negatively nor positively. In 6th place is Revelation Space, the book that started it all, a cornerstone of the series, though surpassed by later works in terms of scope, polish and especially character development. Just ahead at number 5 we can find Absolution Gap, a bold and imaginative installment, particularly the subplots related to religious fanatics, which, while possibly divisive, delivers unforgettable moments. Chasm City comes in at number 4, blending noir storytelling with vivid worldbuilding for a standalone tale that stands out, including one of the more interesting characters of the entire series in the elusive Mr. H. At number 3 is The Prefect, Aurora Rising, a masterful blend of mystery and space opera that perfectly balances its tension and intrigue, introducing us to the grandeur of the Glitter Band. The penultimate spot, number 2, goes to Machine Vendetta, the latest and likely final entry to the Dreyfus Emergency that captures the spirit of the entire series with impressive execution in terms of character development, storytelling and finally also world building. And at my personal number 1, Redemption Arc takes the crown, a high-stakes, emotionally charged epic that exemplifies Reynolds' storytelling at its best. All in all, a tough race, as every book in the series has its own strengths, and I did never regret reading any of them. So do not judge me too harshly. After all, these are my very subjective and personal views on the matter. However, it will still be interesting to compare my thoughts to the wider readership. Here we have the order of novels based on the combined rankings from the various aggregator sites that serve as a proxy. Looking at the differences between my personal rankings and the combined scores, a few notable deviations stand out. For one, Redemption Arc, which held the first spot in my personal preference, slips to 4th place in the combined list. There is also a surprising contrast with Galactic North, which soars to 3rd place in the combined rankings despite being placed 10th personally. Maybe, as mentioned, I am a bit biased against novellas and the story collections in general. Or we are witnessing once more the effect that later entries in a series tend to score higher than the earlier ones, since only the most ardent supporters of the series will likely have read and rated them. Overall, the Revelation Space series by Alastair Reynolds is the masterful interstellar space opera intricately bound by the constraints of special relativity. Unlike many works in the genre, it embraces the limits of physics to create a universe that feels vast, lonely, and foreboding. A place where space truly feels empty and terrifying. Reynolds crafts a richly detailed universe, much like writers such as Ian M. Banks, but with a tone uniquely his own. Each novel offers a distinct flavor, with the notable exception of the 3 Dreyfus stories, which maintain a consistent investigative thriller vibe. Across the rest of the series, though, the tones shift dramatically from noir to a war story to outright cosmic horror, but always with a pinch of humor as well. A hallmark of the series is its unrelenting sense of doom and gloom. Just when things seem dire, they inevitably get worse. Reynolds really leans into apocalyptic themes, cosmic indifference, and even body horror, particularly in the inhibitor sequence, giving the series a haunting sci-fi horror edge. The open question of Earth's fate and the wider solar system, which were mentioned only in flashbacks, adds another layer of unease, leaving readers to speculate on the homeworld's ultimate destiny. Who knows, maybe this might be another setting worth exploring in future novels. The series is also populated by a range of fascinating and widely different factions: the Ultras, Demarchists, Conjoiners, and even more, each with their own ideologies and technologies, adding richness, thought-provoking ideas, and complexity to the world building. While early entries showcase intriguing character work such as the enigmatic Mr. H, Reynolds' skill with character development noticeably improves over time, making later books even more engaging. The Revelation Space series is a gripping blend of cosmic intrigue, scientific rigor, and existential dread, a saga where the stakes are as vast as the universe itself. If you liked this video, you may also enjoy the other reviews and content on my channel. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to discuss the novels or if you want to suggest other books that I should review in the future. Please consider upvoting and subscribing, it is much appreciated. Thank you for watching, and until next time.